Dear students, welcome in DSCJ online classes. I am Amol Sharma, your English teacher, and today we will start fifth lesson of your English prose, and the name of this lesson is The Sermon at Banaras. Students, in this lesson we will study about the teachings of Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha gave his first sermon on the banks of holy river Ganga in Benares. Sermon is a talk on religious or moral lesson. So the sermon of Lord Buddha at Benares was the holiest. It ended the sufferings of a lady who had lost her only son. She accepted the truth and thus freed from pain. Now, before continuing this lesson, first of all, let us know about the author of this story. Students, this story is written by Betty Louise Renshaw Barber. She was born on October 2nd, 1927 in Shannon, Mississippi. She died on 30th of April 1999. She wrote number of books, and some of her famous books are Values and Voices, a practical guide for writers. So this is the small introduction of this author, Betty Louise Renshaw Barber. Now here I will give you the brief introduction of this lesson. Students, the sermon at Banaras throws a light on the early life of Lord Buddha, who was originally born as a prince in the royal family. So this lesson is about the early life of Lord Buddha, who was born as a prince in some royal family in North India. On being exposed to the sufferings of the world, which he was earlier shielded from, he left his princehood and went in search of salvation, thus leaving all the worldly pleasures behind. So till the age of 25 years, he was protected from, he was shielded from all the world sufferings, all the unpleasant things of the world. But when he was exposed to these sufferings of the world, he left his princehood and went in search of salvation, salvation in peace of mind, wisdom, enlightenment. So he went in search of enlightenment, thus leaving all the worldly pleasures behind. Upon attaining spiritual awakening, he gave his first sermon in the city of Banaras, hereby making a lady named Kisagothmi realizes that men are mortal. So he gave his first sermon in the city of Banaras on the banks of holy river Ganga, and there by making a lady named Kisagothmi realizes that men are mortal. They are bound to die. They cannot live forever. So he make her realizes that men are mortal. And a wise person should not grieve at what is bound to happen for. It only enhances pain and suffering. So if we keep on grieving on the death of a person, it only increases our pain and suffering. So a wise person should not grieve at what is bound to happen, as it will increase their pain and suffering. Now let us see the explanation of this lesson. Students, Gautam Buddha was born in a North Indian royal family. He was born as a prince. Moreover, his childhood name was Siddhartha Gautama. He was sent to a faraway place to study Hindu sacred scriptures at the age of 12. Now, Gautam Buddha was born on 563 BC and left for heavenly abode on 483 BC. He was born as a prince named Siddharth Gautama in a royal family in northern India. At the age of 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later he returned home to marry a princess. So then, upon returning after 4 years, he got married to a princess. Soon they both were blessed with a son. So after marriage, a son born to them. Then they continued to live the royal life for about 10 years. The royals were shielded from the unpleasant experiences of the world. So they lived a royal life, they lived the life of as a king or as a prince and princess. So they were shielded from all the unpleasant things or all the sufferings of the world. They were protected from all the sufferings of this world. So the royals were shielded from the unpleasant experiences of the world. However, one day on his way to hunt, the prince met a sick man, an aged man, a funeral procession, and a monk who was begging for. Such experiences acted as an eye-opener for him. Hence, he left all the royalty behind to seek a sense of spiritual knowledge. So, one fine day, while he went out for hunting, the prince met an ailing man, an old man. He also saw a funeral procession and he also saw a monk begging for alms. He was moved by the encounters and soon he left royalty behind to seek enlightenment for all the sorrows that he witnessed. So Gautam Buddha went in search of enlightenment for about 7 years before he finally came across a peepal tree and chose to sit under it till he became awakened. So Gautam Buddha left his palace and went in search of knowledge, went in search of enlightenment for about 7 years. He wanted to know about the cause of all these sufferings. So finally, he came across a peepal tree and chose to sit under it. He finally attained salvation. He finally attained that wisdom. He finally attained peace of mind after 7 days. He decided to retitle the tree as the Bodhi tree and he himself came to be known as Buddha. So after attaining salvation, he decided to rename the tree as the Bodhi tree, in the tree of wisdom. And he himself came to be known as Buddha, means the awakened one who had realized the salvation, one who had achieved all the wisdom. So Buddha means one, the awakened one. He even began pursuing his new realization. So whatever he realized in those 7 days, whatever he learned after 7 days, he decided to preach it. So he started giving sermons. His first sermon was given in the city of Banaras. There was a lady whose name was Kisagothmi, whose son has died. She was suffering from unending pain. Thus, she went from house to house looking for medicine to make her son alive. People thought that the lady has lost her senses. However, one day she met a man who directed her towards Lord Buddha. He felt that Buddha could possibly have a solution for her problem. So, Lord Buddha gave his first sermon on the banks of holy river Ganga in the city of Banaras. This sermon talks about a lady named Kisagothmi whose only son had recently died. Struck with unending pain and sorrow, she took her son door to door, requesting for a wonder drug that could bring his son back to life. Now, quite obviously, everyone thought that the lady had lost her ability to think clearly. So, going on from door to door, she finally came across a man who couldn't offer any medicine but led her to Lord Buddha. Filled with hope, the lady visited Gautam Buddha and begged him for a cure for her child. So lady finally reached to Gautam Buddha and asked for a cure for her dead son. Buddha listened to her and then asked her to look for mustard seeds, and the seeds must be procured from a house where there had been no death. So Lord Buddha asked her to bring some mustard seeds, but he laid down a condition that the seeds must be brought from a house where there had been no death. So, filled with hope, Kisagothmi once again went on a search from house to house, but she could not find mustard seeds from a house according to Buddha's condition. So, just as the man said, Gautam Buddha had a solution. He asked Kisagothmi to get a handful of mustard seeds. Restored with hope, Kisagothmi thought it to be a very simple task until Lord Buddha laid down a condition that the mustard seeds must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, a husband, parent, or a friend. Means mustard seeds must be from a house where there has been no death. So once again, Kissa Gotmi went from door to door, but this time she was looking for mustard seeds. Earlier, she went from door to door for asking for a drug that could bring her dead son alive, but this time she was looking for mustard seeds. Many had mustard seeds to offer, but none of them could fulfill Lord Buddha's condition of having seen no deaths in the family. So, upon being asked, people requested Kissa Gotmi not to remind them of their deepest griefs. Unfortunately, she could not find a suitable home to get mustard seeds for her son. She was disheartened and sat at the edge of the road, where she realized how selfish she had been. She realized the fact that men are mortal. Mortal means those who are bound to die. Also, no one could escape the cycle of life. This was the only fact that Buddha wanted her to understand. So all her hope was lost for Kissa Gotmi, and thus, in extreme anguish and pain, she found herself a place to ponder at the edge of the road. She looked on the road at the edge of the road. She continuously watched city lights blinking and observed them till there was just darkness all around. After deep reflection, she realized that man's fate was just like these city lights that flicker and extinguish repeatedly. The cycle of birth and death is nature's way of working. Suddenly, she became conscious as to how selfish she had been in her sorrow, and that one who has born must rest eternally. Men are mortal, and the ones that are immortals have covered a path free from all worldly pleasures. So, according to Lord Buddha, the life of mortals is troubled because they have not made peace with the fact that one who is born must rest eternally. There is no way of living being can avoid facing death. Just like a ripe fruit is more prone to falling, an aged mortal is bound to die. Just like all earthen vessels break at some point, so do men. Whether old or young, foolish or wise, death leaves none. The only way death works is by withdrawing the person from the living world. That is, the person ceases to exist. So no one has control over death. Neither a father can save his son, nor a kinsman his relative. Just like an ox is taken to the slaughterhouse to be killed, so does death do with mortals, leaving none behind. Thus, the one who knows this truth does not grieve at his loss, is the one who has been called wise by Lord Buddha. So, students, this is all about this lesson, which includes the first sermon of Lord Buddha at Benares. So, the first sermon of Lord Buddha at Benares was the holiest. It ended the sufferings of a lady who had lost her only son. She accepted the truth and thus freed from pain. So, according to Lord Buddha, feelings of grief and sorrow increases man's pain and sufferings. It serves no other purpose. Thus, a wise person who is fully aware of nature's functioning must not grieve at something bound to happen. This is the only way in which he can be happy and blessed. So, let's move to the next part of this class, of this lesson. So, here we have some frequently asked questions which are important from your examination point of view. So, very first question is, what is a sermon? How is it different from a lecture? So, a sermon is a talk on a moral or religious subject. It is usually given by a religious leader like guru or priest. A lecture is a talk that is given to a group of people to teach them about a particular subject. As lecture is being given in your classes, as I am also giving a lecture on today's lesson. So this is the difference between a sermon and a lecture. Next question is, how did the Buddha attain the enlightenment? Now, the Buddha wanted to understand the cause of human sufferings. He left home and kept wandering for about 7 years. So when Buddha saw the people suffering from sickness or some death, So he wanted to understand the cause of all those human sufferings. So he left home and kept wandering for about 7 years in search of salvation, in search of enlightenment. At last, he sat down under a peepal tree for 7 days. He got enlightenment, a spiritual understanding about the cause of human suffering came to him. So now he came to known as Buddha or the awakened one. Next question is, when her son dies, Kisagothmi goes from house to house. What does she ask for? Does she get it? And why not? So when her son dies, Kisagothmi goes from house to house requesting for a wonder drug that could bring her son back to life. So she was requesting someone to give a medicine or a wonder drug that could bring her dead son back to life. She could not get it because there is no medicine in this world, in this universe, that can bring a dead man back to life. Then next question is, what does Kisagothmi understand the second time that she failed to understand first time? And in what way did the Buddha change her understanding? Now students, Kisagothmi couldn't realize that no one can escape the cycle of death. When Kisagothmi failed to find mustard seeds that could fulfill Lord Buddha's condition of having seen no death in the family, because Lord Buddha had asked her to bring the mustard seed from that family in which there was no death, no one has died in that family. So Kisagothmi was not able to find mustard seeds that fulfill Lord Buddha's condition. She became disheartened, and after deep reflection, she made peace with the terms of the world. So, after deep reflection, she realized that men are mortal and they are bound to die. So, Lord Buddha played a major role in facilitating the shift in her understanding by teaching her a lesson that one must not grieve for what is bound to happen for. It will only deepen the pain and suffering. So one must not grieve at the death of his loved ones, as it will add only to their pains and sufferings. So students, according to Lord Buddha, one should not grieve, weep or be miserable at something which is bound to happen. It will keep man away from obtaining peace of mind. It will only multiply the pain and suffering, thus leading to physical weakness, and moreover, no amount of grief would bring back the debt. It is very important to understand that one must move past feelings like sorrow and grief, as it is the only way that lead to the path of salvation. So the story here wants to make readers understand and accept the fact that death is inevitable. It can occur to anyone. An earthen vessel too breaks one day. Whether rich or poor, fool or wise, man or woman, all have to die one day. If we weep over one's death, then we will not be able to obtain the peace of mind. Rather, it will be greater and his body will be suffer. So only the wise don't cry and accept the truth. Now, students, I think you might have understood this beautiful lesson, which included the first sermon of Lord Buddha, which he gave on the holy banks of River Ganga in the city of Benares. Now, students, I would like you to do one thing at home, that you should write the teachings of Lord Buddha on your notebook and also try to follow them. So students, this is all about this lesson, and in our next class, we will start the next lesson from your proofs. Till then, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.